Divinity is not a distant force outside of us. It is the very essence within us. Dr. Wayne Dyer reminds us that true power, peace, and purpose are discovered when we recognize that the spark of the divine is not somewhere out there, but already living inside each one of us. This awareness transforms fear into faith, weakness into strength, and limitations into possibilities. Once we embrace this truth, we no longer search for miracles. We become the miracle. You are not separate from the divine. You are an expression of it, and this realization has the power to shift the way you see yourself, your life, and the world around you in ways that are truly profound. From childhood, many of us have been taught to believe that God's source or the divine is somewhere far away in the heavens, in some unreachable realm, and that only the chosen, the holy, or the special few have access to this higher power. We are conditioned to think of ourselves as small, unworthy, and constantly in need of earning love, favor, or forgiveness from something greater than us. But the truth is, you were never separate, you were never disconnected, and you never needed to go searching for that power outside of yourself, because the essence of the divine has always been within you, quietly present in every breath you take, in every beat of your heart, in every spark of inspiration and moment of love you feel. You are not just a physical body walking through time. You are a living, breathing manifestation of divine energy expressing itself in human form. The moment you begin to understand that you are not separate, that you are an expression of divinity itself, a profound shift begins to happen in your life. Instead of chasing after validation, love, or approval, you begin to recognize that you already carry those qualities within you. You no longer feel the desperate need to prove yourself, because the very essence of who you are is already enough. This understanding allows you to stand taller, to face challenges with courage, and to treat yourself with compassion, because you are honoring not just a human identity, but the divine presence that flows through you. When you recognize yourself as an expression of the divine, you start to notice that every thought you think, every action you take, every word you speak carries a vibration, and that vibration has the ability to shape the world around you. You are not powerless. You are a co-creator with life itself, and everything you do becomes infused with meaning and purpose when you carry this awareness. Think about the moments in your life when you felt deeply connected, when you experienced love that seemed to transcend words, when you stood in awe of nature, gazing at a sunset or the vastness of the night sky. In those moments, you felt something stir inside you, something that felt expansive, eternal, and deeply familiar. That was not something outside of you. It was the divine within you recognizing itself. You were not witnessing beauty, you were participating in it. You were not observing love, you were radiating it. And this is the truth that has always been present, even if the noise of the world and the beliefs you inherited made you forget it. When you start to remember, you begin to live differently. You no longer see yourself as separate from God, from others, or from the universe itself. You see yourself as part of the great whole, an expression of one universal energy that moves through all of creation. So many of the struggles people face today come from the illusion of separation. We feel disconnected from others, from our purpose, from joy, and even from our own worth. This disconnection creates loneliness, anxiety, fear, and doubt. But when you begin to anchor into the truth that you are not separate from the divine, those illusions start to dissolve. Fear gives way to trust. Doubt gives way to clarity. Emptiness gives way to wholeness. It is as though a light turns on inside you, reminding you that you were never lacking, you were never broken, you were never incomplete. The divine has been present in you from the very beginning, and it will always remain with you, no matter how many mistakes you make, no matter how many challenges you face, no matter how far you think you have strayed. You are like a wave in the ocean, unique in form, yet inseparable from the vastness of the water that creates it. A wave cannot be separate from the ocean, just as you cannot be separate from the divine that expresses itself as you. When you accept yourself as an expression of the divine, you start to walk differently through life. You treat others not as strangers or competitors, but as reflections of the same divinity that exists within you. Suddenly, compassion becomes natural, forgiveness becomes easier, and love flows more freely, because you understand that to honor another is to honor the divine within them, which is the same divine that exists in you. This recognition dissolves the walls that divide us, whether they are built on race, religion, culture, or status. When you know that divinity flows through all, you realize that no one is higher or lower, no one is more deserving or less deserving of love. We are all connected, And this truth brings about a deep sense of unity that can transform not only your personal life, but the way you show up in the world. Living with the awareness that you are an expression of the divine also gives you the courage to step fully into your purpose. Too often, people hold themselves back because they feel they are not enough, not qualified, not worthy of pursuing the dreams in their heart. But when you realize that your desires and gifts are not random, but are divine expressions seeking to manifest through you, you stop doubting and start trusting. You recognize that the talents you have, the passions that excite you, the visions you carry are all part of how the divine wants to express itself in the world. And once you see your life in this way, you no longer shrink back from your potential. You no longer hide your light. Instead, you step forward with confidence, knowing that you are simply allowing the divine to flow through you, and that by expressing your fullest self, you are honoring the source of your existence. Every challenge you face, every hardship you endure, every obstacle you overcome also becomes an opportunity to remember who you truly are. When life feels heavy and you are tempted to believe that you are powerless or abandoned, that is the very moment to reconnect with the truth that you are not separate from God. You are not alone. The same divine power that created galaxies, that orchestrates the stars, that gives life to every blade of grass, also lives within you, guiding you, strengthening you, and lifting you. To remember this in moments of pain is to tap into an endless well of resilience. You begin to realize that the storms of life are not punishments or evidence of disconnection, but invitations to grow stronger in the awareness of who you are. And with every challenge you navigate, your faith in your inner divinity becomes deeper, more unshakable, more alive. The more you live in alignment with the awareness of being an expression of the divine, the more you will notice synchronicities and flow in your life. Doors will open, opportunities will arise, and the right people will appear at the right time, not because you are lucky, but because you are finally aligned with the natural order of life. You are no longer resisting or doubting the energy that flows through you. You are cooperating with it. And when you live in this state of cooperation with the divine, miracles cease to be rare occurrences. They become a natural way of life. You stop begging for blessings and instead realize that you are the blessing. You stop waiting for signs and instead become the sign for others. This is what it means to embody the truth that you are not separate from the divine. You live as the very evidence of divinity expressed in human form. True peace comes from recognizing God within, not seeking God outside, and this truth, when absorbed and lived, can radically transform the entire experience of being alive. For centuries, human beings have been conditioned to believe that peace is something external, something to be attained by arranging the circumstances of life in just the right way, by acquiring the right possessions, by achieving a certain level of success, or by finding approval from others. Yet history and personal experience continually reveal that no matter how much one accumulates, no matter how many external conditions are met, the restless heart still seeks something deeper, something beyond the material. The longing that never quite goes away is not for more of the outside, but for the rediscovery of what is already within. True peace is not dependent on what happens around you, but on your recognition of the divine presence dwelling inside you. Constant, unchanging, and infinite. When you search for peace outside yourself, you inevitably become a prisoner of circumstances. Your happiness rises and falls with the market, with relationships, with weather, with recognition, and with countless forces you cannot control. One day everything feels perfect, the next day it crumbles, and your sense of peace vanishes with it. This endless roller coaster is the result of believing that peace must come from the world around you. But the moment you begin to turn inward, to connect with the indwelling spirit, you discover a wellspring that is not touched by external fluctuations. The same divine presence that beats your heart and breathes through your lungs is the source of a peace that no storm can disturb. It is not earned, not manufactured, not conditional. It is already there, waiting for you to recognize it. Think of the way a lake becomes still when the wind stops stirring its surface. Beneath the ripples and waves, the depth of the lake has always been calm, unmoved by the turbulence above. Your soul is like that depth. The surface of life may be chaotic, full of noise, full of ups and downs, but the inner essence, the divine within, is always at rest. When you identify with the surface, you are tossed around by every event. When you identify with the depth, you remain grounded, steady, unshaken. This is the difference between chasing peace outside and finding peace within. By recognizing that God is not a distant presence to be begged for tranquility, but the very stillness within you, you realize that peace is not something to reach for, but something to allow, something to uncover, something to remember. Many people spend their lives searching for God in temples, churches, or holy places, and while sacred spaces can help remind us of the divine, the truth is that the ultimate temple is within your own being. To sit quietly, to turn inward, to breathe deeply, and to feel the pulse of life flowing through you is to enter the holiest sanctuary there is. No ritual, no pilgrimage, no elaborate practice is required to meet God, because God is closer than your breath, nearer than your heartbeat. This is why mystics throughout the ages have taught that silence is one of the greatest doors to divine experience. In silence, you become aware of the presence that has always been there, patiently waiting behind the noise of your thoughts, beyond the distractions of the outer world. The recognition of this inner presence is the birthplace of peace, a peace that cannot be shaken by any external condition. When you stop seeking God outside and begin recognizing the divine within, a natural alignment begins to occur in your life. Your choices start flowing from a deeper awareness, and instead of chasing after fleeting satisfactions, you find yourself guided by a quiet wisdom that brings fulfillment. The restlessness that once drove you to prove yourself, to compete endlessly, to compare constantly, begins to dissolve because you no longer need external confirmation of your worth. You no longer live in the exhausting race to be enough. You know you already are enough because the essence of divinity flows through you. This inner knowing creates peace in a way that no worldly achievement ever could. You can move through life with confidence and serenity because you no longer mistake circumstances for the source of your peace. Think about how often people postpone peace by attaching it to future outcomes. They say, "I'll be at peace when I get the promotion," or "I'll be at peace when I find the right partner," or "I'll be at peace when I have financial security." But this mindset keeps peace forever out of reach, always a destination, never a present reality. The truth is that peace is not something you wait for. It is something you awaken to here and now by recognizing the divine already within you. The future cannot give you what the present moment already holds. Peace does not come after conditions are perfect. Peace comes from realizing that the perfection you seek is already alive in the divine presence at the core of your being. Every spiritual teacher in history has pointed in some way to this truth. The kingdom of heaven is within you. The still small voice speaks inside. The light of the world is not external, but within each person. And yet humanity often overlooks this because the mind is constantly drawn outward, constantly distracted by the external world. It takes practice, patience, and a willingness to turn inward to shift this focus. Meditation, prayer, contemplation, or simply mindful breathing are all practices that help peel away the layers of noise and allow the awareness of the inner divine to emerge. The more you practice connecting with this presence, the more natural it becomes, until eventually you no longer feel the need to search outside at all. You carry peace with you into every situation, into every interaction, because you are rooted in something deeper than circumstance. True peace is not passive. It is not an escape from life. It is a dynamic state of being that allows you to meet challenges with calm, to face difficulties with strength, and to approach others with love. When you are anchored in the recognition of God within, life may still bring storms, but you are no longer at their mercy. You become like a tree with deep roots. Winds may blow, branches may sway, but the core remains steady. This kind of peace empowers you rather than weakens you. It gives you the ability to respond rather than react, to create rather than collapse, to shine rather than shrink. It transforms not only your inner world, but also the way you influence the outer world, because peace is contagious. When you embody peace, others feel it. When you radiate peace, you become a living reminder to those around you that they too can turn inward and find the same source. As you deepen in the awareness that God is within, you begin to notice that the things you once thought were essential to your peace no longer hold the same power. You may still enjoy material success, relationships, and experiences, but they are no longer the foundation of your serenity. They become expressions of your inner wholeness rather than conditions for it. This shift is liberating. You are free from the endless pursuit of trying to control everything outside of you. You are free from the chains of needing constant approval or external validation. You live from a place of fullness rather than lack, and this fullness naturally radiates outward, creating harmony in your life and in the lives of those you touch. The beauty of finding peace within is that it cannot be taken from you. Circumstances can change, people can come and go, situations can rise and fall, but the inner presence of the divine remains steady and unshaken. Even in moments of grief or loss, when pain is real and emotions run deep, there is still an undercurrent of peace available when you return to the source within. This does not mean you avoid feeling or deny human experiences. It means that beneath the waves of emotion, there is a foundation of divine stillness that holds you. Knowing this changes the way you navigate life. You stop fearing the future because you trust the eternal presence within. You stop clinging to the past because you realize peace has never left you. You live fully in the present moment, connected to the unchanging truth at the core of your being. This recognition of God within is the ultimate freedom, because it places your peace back in your hands. You are no longer a victim of life's unpredictability, no longer dependent on external factors to feel whole. You are aligned with the infinite source that is closer than close, already within you. From this place, you can walk through life with confidence, serenity, and joy, knowing that peace is not something to pursue, but something you carry with you always. Your thoughts shape your connection to divine energy. And this truth is one of the most powerful realizations you can embrace if you want to transform your life at the deepest level. Every thought you think is not just a passing idea, not just an invisible whisper in your mind, but a vibration, a frequency, a force that interacts with the energy around you and within you. We often underestimate the power of thought because we cannot hold it in our hands or measure it with a ruler. But thoughts are creative forces. They are seeds, and whatever you plant in the fertile soil of your consciousness grows into the experiences you live each day. If your thoughts are filled with fear, doubt, anger, and limitation, then the energy you align with will reflect those qualities back to you in your life. If your thoughts are filled with love, faith, gratitude, and expansion, then your connection to divine energy strengthens, and the world begins to mirror those higher vibrations. This is not about magical thinking or pretending that difficulties do not exist. It is about understanding the law of resonance that governs the universe. Just as a tuning fork vibrates in harmony with another when struck, your mind vibrates in harmony with the energy you consistently focus on. When you dwell on negative, self-defeating, or limiting thoughts, you cut yourself off from the flow of divine energy that is always available to you. You are like a radio tuned to the wrong frequency. The music is still playing, but you cannot hear it clearly because you are not aligned. On the other hand, when you choose thoughts that affirm your worth, that align with love, that focus on possibility and hope, you tune yourself to the frequency of divine energy. Suddenly, synchronicities appear, doors open, and peace flows, not because the external world has magically changed, but because your inner vibration has shifted to connect with what was already present. Consider how many times you have allowed a single thought to shape your entire day. Perhaps you woke up feeling tired, and the thought, "I don't have the energy for this day," passed through your mind. That single thought, repeated and reinforced, shaped your perception of everything that followed. You noticed obstacles more than opportunities, frustrations more than blessings, and by the end of the day, your belief was confirmed. You didn't have the energy. Yet the truth is, the divine energy within you is limitless, always available, always flowing. The only thing that limited your experience was the thought that cut you off from it. Imagine instead waking up and choosing to affirm, "Divine energy flows through me endlessly, and I am supported in everything I do." That single shift in thought opens the door for your mind, body, and spirit to align with vitality, and suddenly you notice resources, strength, and inspiration that you might otherwise have overlooked. Your thoughts are the key that either unlocks or blocks your connection to divine energy. Your inner dialogue becomes your outer reality. Every time you repeat to yourself, "I am not good enough," or "I am not capable," you are speaking words of disconnection. You are affirming separation from the divine source within you. And because the mind is always looking to confirm what it believes, you will find evidence in the world to support those limiting thoughts. You will notice rejection, failure, or struggle, and you will say, "See, I was right." But the truth is, it was not reality that proved you right. It was your thoughts shaping the lens through which you saw reality. On the other hand, when you consistently remind yourself, "I am connected to divine wisdom, I am guided, I am loved, I am capable," you begin to see evidence of that truth everywhere. Guidance appears in unexpected places, strength arises when you need it most, opportunities show up, and life seems to support you in ways you could not have imagined. The difference is not in the external world itself, but in the power of thought to shape your alignment with divine energy. Think of your mind as a garden. Every thought is a seed planted in the soil. If you plant weeds of fear, self-doubt, and negativity, you will harvest experiences that reflect those weeds. If you plant seeds of faith, joy, and gratitude, you will harvest beauty, abundance, and peace. The divine energy is the sun and the rain that makes the garden grow, but the thoughts you choose determine what blossoms. Too often, people blame life circumstances or fate for their struggles without realizing that they are planting weeds with their own thoughts each day. When you take responsibility for your thinking, you reclaim your creative power. You realize that divine energy is always there, but it responds to the vibration you choose to send out through your thoughts. The more intentional you become with those thoughts, the stronger your connection to divine energy becomes. This is why practices like affirmations, visualization, and gratitude are not just spiritual cliches, but powerful tools for realignment. When you repeat affirmations that declare your connection to divine energy, you are training your mind to focus on truth rather than illusion. When you visualize yourself living in harmony, success, or peace, you are tuning your inner vibration to the frequency of that reality, which then draws experiences to you that match it. When you practice gratitude, even for the smallest things, you shift your focus from what is lacking to what is abundant, and that shift in thought aligns you more fully with the flow of divine energy, which is always abundant, always giving, always expanding. Each of these practices is a way of consciously shaping your thoughts so that they open rather than close the channel of divine energy within you. The challenge for many people is that they have been thinking limiting thoughts for so long that it feels natural, almost automatic. The mind is like a well-worn path in a forest. The more often you walk it, the clearer it becomes. Negative thinking patterns can become so ingrained that you barely notice them, yet they quietly drain your connection to divine energy. The good news is, just as a new path can be created by walking it daily, new patterns of thought can be formed with practice and persistence. Each time you catch yourself in a limiting thought and gently replace it with one aligned with truth, you are carving out a new path in your mind. Over time, this becomes the natural way of thinking, and your connection to divine energy grows stronger and stronger. Science itself has begun to confirm what spiritual teachers have always known, that thoughts and beliefs shape not only our perception but also our physical reality. Studies in neuroscience show that thoughts can rewire the brain, create new neural pathways, and influence emotions, behaviors, and even the health of the body. Thoughts of stress and fear can weaken the immune system, while thoughts of love and gratitude can strengthen it. This is not abstract theory. It is the lived reality of how intimately connected thought is with every aspect of our being. When you choose thoughts that affirm your divine connection, you are not only aligning spiritually, but also healing and strengthening yourself mentally and physically. The unity of mind, body, and spirit is real, and thought is the bridge that connects them to the infinite energy within. When you fully embrace the power of thought to shape your connection with divine energy, you stop being careless with what you allow to dominate your mind. You become intentional. You begin to guard the doorway of your consciousness, not out of fear, but out of love for the truth of who you are. You start noticing the thoughts that drain you and replacing them with thoughts that uplift you. You begin to see your mind not as a battlefield where you are helpless, but as a sacred space where you choose what seeds to plant each day. This awareness brings empowerment because you no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstances, but as a co-creator with divine energy. You realize that the divine is always offering peace, love, abundance, and guidance, and your thoughts are the switch that either opens or closes the flow. Imagine living each day with the awareness that your thoughts are sacred tools, that each one is an opportunity to strengthen your connection with the divine. You would approach your inner dialogue with reverence. You would speak to yourself with kindness, reminding yourself of your worth, your capability, your connection. You would direct your focus not toward fear of what could go wrong, but toward faith in what is possible. You would cultivate gratitude, not because life is perfect, but because gratitude tunes you to the frequency of divine abundance. You would hold visions of peace, love, and purpose, knowing that by doing so, you are aligning your entire being with the energy of creation itself. This is the power that has always been within you, the ability to shape your connection to the divine through the thoughts you choose.